by the Aatrox.
Yeah, ROCCAT always being one of the hardest teams to predict because everything is built around winning some early fights around Memento and Blanc in the mid lane. If that happens, ROCCAT suddenly look great and they can actually win games. And if they suddenly fall behind, they lose in 25 minutes. So hard to say, and also why actually they're 4-4 in the standings here. Heimerdinger, no surprise, has become one of the most contested picks in Europe. Did not imagine saying that a couple of months ago, but that is the case.
The meta, it does change. Now the Nocturne is also removed. We see the Zoe off the board. Now this means ROCCAT on their first pick are going to opt for a very fast Swain lock-in.
Very standard so far. Still the triple flex option, which is one of the great things. Obviously on blue side, your early picks, you typically don't want something where the enemy team can just instantly counter-pick you. And this is what we're going to see more of, Pyra. The Gragas. He's back in the meta, baby.
And the Yasuo. I mean,
the Yasuo
nice
we've seen a few times. Obviously, expecting it to go to Sencux in the mid lane. Already played it a few times. And Hansama is the AD carry man, so he's obviously not going to take the Yasuo. But the Gragas pick, it has become one of those champions where, again, you can flex it into multiple lanes. Mikyx is a famous one-trick Gragas in solo queue if you need it down in support. And also, it sets up very well around the Yasuo ulti. So, a good combination already for Misfits.
Looks like on the ROCCAT side, they will get a tank to match up towards the top side. They take the Mundo for profit. Of course, nice little shout out to the coach, Freddy122 of ROCCAT, famous Mundo player back in the day.
And you know what I like? Memento is not on Sejuani. When I saw that draft last week, I just felt like, man, this is like... Freddy had like a page for a different team or something, and he was drafting for them instead of his own team because they could never win playing a late game comp. They need Memento to get early kills. That's just the win condition for this team. It's actually sad that that is the only one so far, but they need this Kindred to do well.
Yeah, well, they definitely need someone else to be able to step up. That's a question we've been asking a lot, like where is ROCCAT's damage going to come from apart Memento? Misfits, they lock in the Alphari now as we enter ban phase 2. Or lock in Alphari, excuse me, lock in the Alistar.
They lock in Alphari too.
Every time I see a tank, baby. I just figured, yeah, that's who it is.
More knock-ups for the Yasuo. This might be another game where Sencux can show his new and improved form here in the summer split. Definitely not the same play we saw in spring split. When we talked to him about this on the podcast, he actually mentioned that he's that kind of person who he will have one bad split and one great split. And that's just the same every single year for him. He just needs to be lucky that it's always the summer split he's doing well, so he can actually go to Worlds. And then spring split is the bad split.
There you go. So let him warm up for a little while. It does seem like it's been key to Misfits' transformation from a very disappointing spring split.
Definitely.
He has kind of risen with the team's level overall.
Yeah, and that's the fantastic story of Misfits Gaming. A team that did not make playoffs in spring split, did not make any changes to the main roster, stuck with all the players, said, no, we have full trust in this lineup, improved the coaching staff a bit, and then now you're 8-0, clearly the best team in Europe, and you're still also sticking with the AD carries down in the bottom lane. So I think there's a lot of really cool things around Misfits and their success. I think a lot of European fans want to see them go back to Worlds and try and do what they did last year. Maybe this time actually win Game 5 against SKT. Who's probably not even going to be there.
Yeah, that's a whole nother story. I mean, we're getting way out into the future, but zooming it back into this pick and ban phase, Misfits are also continuing to do what has found them success. This draft always seems to follow a formula. You get a self-sufficient top laner. That's going to be the Gragas. You get the mid and jungle synergy. Well, we don't necessarily know what the jungle's going to be yet.
Yeah, it could still be Gragas.
You combo with the Yasuo, and it definitely means that Sencux can be set up for some good kills. Hansama now has locked in the Lucian as it's over to ROCCAT.
It's one of those lanes in the bottom lane where while Lucian, of course, you have to constantly fear the potential Swain all-in, you do have some power punching back if Swain does overextend. We've seen Lucians actually win lane against some of the mages multiple times in the EU LCS, but this case it looks like a Swain mid lane from ROCCAT, and will then be the Ezreal bot lane. So I kind of feel like ROCCAT is not going to apply a lot of pressure on Hansama. I kind of wanted Swain bot lane was something where they could try and shut down an AD carry early. Ezreal should not be the answer. Looks like Hansama will be more than fine just playing a standard matchup in the bot lane.
Not something we see all the time these days with the changes to the bottom lane, but
oh, it's coming back.
For the Ezreal. It is coming back, and Hansama was the guy that's kept faith with it for a long time. Now the timer ticks down, and it looks like we got a Gangplank lock-in, so there's a switcheroo there with that Gragas into the jungle. Alphari not on a tank.
Exactly. 5 Mundo games, 1 Ornn, 1 Poppy, 1 Shen. It's all gone now. He's on GP unless they're going to randomly swap it to the jungle just to make fun of us. But no, GP top lane, traditional pick against Mundo. So that's not the surprise. It's just the fact that Misfits actually is putting him on a carry. The front line is now Maxlore and Mikyx. Obviously the Gragas ulti, no matter where he is going to be very effective against Kindred. So it doesn't really matter for him specifically. And I think they wanted to try and give Alphari a good match up top. You can go Klepto, you don't really fear the Mundo, he can't kill you, and you just farm. And you know what GP can do? He can ult to the bot lane. And that's where Misfits like to win games.
And he can also TP down if need be. But he's talked about how quick on the draw Alphari is to try and make the play to help his team win the game. It was always going to be a mountain to climb for ROCCAT to beat Misfits Gaming, hand them their first loss of the summer split. But what is in the mind of Coach Freddy122? Can he do what no other team has done here in Europe? It's going to be hard. A lot of it is going to be on Memento in his early game. But we'll see if he can get some help from Prophet, Blanc, and the rest of the team.
Yeah, exactly. We keep asking the question, who will step up next to Memento? We don't need one game of someone being a carry. We need someone to consistently do it on the side of ROCCAT. I think the Swain Kindred combination is probably where they're going to put their focus. Ezreal and Mundo on the side lanes, not exactly the guys you play around in the early game. It will most likely be Memento and Blanc together, trying to shut down Sencux.
Here's the thing about that, though. The win condition for Misfits always seems to be getting the mid-jungle synergy rolling while the bot lane does its thing, pushes all in, and then the top lane stays self-sufficient. If that holds true, then ROCCAT are hitting at the strongest point of Misfits.
Yeah, maybe that's how you break them. They're 8-0 right now. A lot of teams have been trying to hit all the weak spots. They're trying to camp Alphari up top lane. That didn't really work too well. They've tried to stop Hansama from getting ahead in the bot lane. Fairly unsuccessful in most of the games. Sencux and Maxlore, that combination in mid is important if you want to play around the side lanes. You must have a mid laner that can push and roam. And that's what they've found so far this split here. Still very interesting with Sencux, a man that I feel like last split we tried to find like narratives around, and we were always like, just put him on a roaming mid laner, you know, push out and roam. That's kind of the style for him. It's not been the case this split. Like, he's on a Yasuo. It's hard to execute in pro play, and he's looking individually good on it.
And it's vintage Sencux in a way we haven't seen for a while. Back in his early days on Splice, the guy would lock in LeBlanc and then basically 100-0 people, or Splice would just lose the game. You put him on a champion like Yasuo that has that same kind of binary potential. You either do a lot or you do nothing.
Yeah, a lot of people forget that Sencux and Perks joined the league at the same time in 2016, and while a lot of the initial hype was around Splice and Sencux specifically, it instantly shifted to Perks after a couple of weeks, and it stayed on Perks for 2 years basically. This really has been the split for Misfits and him, specifically to try and say, okay, can we actually win the EU LCS? Can Sencux beat mid laners like Perks and Caps and show that he belongs at the top? It's going to be one of the stories we'll keep tracking during the coming weeks. Meanwhile, in this game here specifically, I just want to see what happens with Memento and his jungle pathing.
Something we need to call out to as the game gets underway as well is just the sheer amount of teleports on both sides of the team compositions. 4 for ROCCAT, 3 for Misfits. There's going to be a lot of movement around the map this game, a lot of team fights.
There's also a spellbook on Norskeren, so those have the ability to change around a little bit. But yeah, TP coming in. Still kind of been a meta a lot of times, especially because if you play against a guy in the bot lane with TP and you don't have it, like, he gets much better recalls than you do and tends to actually get a lot of lane control. And it becomes less about all-in killing without running ignites down there. And because you kind of expect the enemy team to do the same, well, you don't have to then take heal or bury or anything defensive. So it becomes just a match. Also, again, kind of highlights to me this is probably just going to be a farm lane bot.
Yeah, for the time being. I mean, the Ezreal and the Braum, something to kind of give that a sense of it as well. And now, this is also, for people who were only watching Norskeren this last split, kind of an old favorite. He used to be kind of a Braum one-trick. He would lock in almost every single game, but he went aggressive with it. So you think maybe this is a farm game, but I'm wondering if Norskeren doesn't try to go for the 2v2 when EQ feels confident.
I mean, if the opening is there, you go for it. Meanwhile, Memento, Santa for him. We'll end up losing this top Rift Scuttler over to Maxlore.
It's a little unfortunate. Crowd, very happy
very
about
early on. He didn't even kill it yet.
No, but they know it's going down. That crowd don't fight back.
If he had just walked away and not killed it, you guys would have looked terrible.
He does get the vision down early game. Memento a little bit preoccupied with the Gromp. But this is what you got to do if you're Maxlore, try and keep the Kindred marks away. Yeah,
and also kind of sucks for him because top lane is the lane pushing right now. Like, ooh, you love to gank GP early game. It's not that tanky. But there's 2 wards, or 1 ward plus a Rift Scuttler spotting him, so it's simply not possible for Memento to get in there. And that means Alphari is safe. He just keeps pushing.
There we go. Well, ROCCAT definitely feeling a little confident, at least from the social media account, that they can take down Misfits Gaming. But honestly, the 8-0, it's not idly earned. These guys have been so far so dominant, even against some of their peers, some of the better teams in the ULCS, that game against G2 eSports especially.
Yeah, and again, that's the thing about ROCCAT. Like, whenever you feel like they don't have a chance, they randomly do something crazy and then they win the game. You're like, okay, I guess ROCCAT is great now. And then the next game, they just lose to a bottom team. And you're like, okay, I have no clue what's actually happening. And it doesn't matter who's on the lineup. They've done this for years. Yeah,
it's the one thing that's been consistent about ROCCAT is how unpredictable they actually are, and the fact that they can take relatively unknown players and rise them up to greatness. We've talked about this at length with the likes of players like Gankos and Bander coming through from back in the old days when they were all a Polish lineup. But Team ROCCAT has always been able to do that. And this is why they have that moniker of they're a team that can beat anyone and lose to anyone. And it's kind of right there, 4-4. They just split the difference in the LCS.
And they did make playoffs last split. Obviously, didn't get the result they were hoping for in the quarterfinal, but I think they surprised a lot of people by actually getting top 6. People thought there was going to be a lot of issues with synergy with the 5 new players. One of the teams making the most changes, but obviously it was not the case for them. Meanwhile, just a farm fest so far. Memento not been able to find any openings.
As Memento looks to head up, it looks like that's about to change. He's waiting in the wings for the teleport to come in. So that's the gank you were looking for, but I don't think he's going to find it. Level 4 versus a level 5 Alphari.
Yeah, I don't think he found any stacks yet either.
Yeah. Well, while the game is a little bit slower, we have teleports coming back in. We asked the question in the draft phase, who was going to be the other carry? And I think I've got a candidate for you, Deficio. Heaq, maybe not in this particular game on the Ezreal, maybe if it goes a little bit later, has been providing a lot of the team's damage outside Memento's share.
Yeah, Heaq's been one of the AD carries where he's rarely the reason they win, but he's almost never the reason they lose either. He's just a very consistent, stable player. And ROCCAT try and use him just to sit and hold the 2v2 lane bot, meanwhile Mikyx and Norskeren gets a quick trade. But that's kind of thing. That's where, again, with Heaq, if he consistently could actually have some of the great games we've seen in the past, he would suddenly be the second carry on this team.
It's going to come down to champion choices as well. You can see the way that he actually breaks down the damage share, does the most on his team, and he's the second most for bot laners. It's been a very unstable split for bot laners, admittedly, but this guy, he takes the Ezreal when he wants to stay safe. That's only happened one other time. He's playing Vladimir bot. He's playing Ziggs bot. He picked the Xayah up as well. These are all champions that want to deal a lot of damage early and often. Yeah,
and he's done pretty well on the mages. He actually did adapt to the meta. Now, I want to see on this Ezreal here, because if you are going to beat Misfits, you need multiple players probably performing above their current level. So Heaq is one of the guys we have to look at. Like right now, he's going straight even with Hansama in the bottom lane, so that's perfectly fine. He's just going to start stacking up on the Ezreal, and then we can get to judge him in team fights once we get there in a couple of, I say a couple of minutes. Let's give 10.
Give it a little while. Start the timers. But he's not the issue right now with the way the team is playing out this game, because there is a 500 gold deficit. It's sitting mostly in this top and in this mid lane with the CS differential, and now Alphari's giving Prophet even harder of a time. There is a Maxlore waiting in the wings, but Prophet's smart enough to not push too far forward. He's going to have to tower farm for the time being, and maybe Memento comes in.
Oh, Sencux on the way as well. Might be 3-man diving. Memento no level 6 yet.
Okay, there we go. He's going to throw it on Wolf's Frenzy. Maxlore comes in. Sencux spying the kill. It's going to get the knock-up. That's first blood on the last breath, and it was the last breath for Memento. Rocket and retreat.
Oh, double TP by top lane as well. We got 5 players up here from Misfits. They want the first turn. They want more.
All of a sudden, it's a death ball, and in goes the cannon barrage, and the Mundo gets stunned up. Not enough healing to come through for him, and Blanc comes a little too late to this party. Sencux picks up another kill, and it's a disaster for Team ROCCAT.
Yeah, this whole thing just went terribly wrong for ROCCAT here. Memento was not level 6. He stepped top lane, thinking it was just going to be a 2v2 and maybe he could pick up a kill on the way out. But Yasuo had already left the mid lane, should have been communicated by ROCCAT. And suddenly the level 5 Kindred just becomes the target.
Look, this guy's flipped a switch. Here goes the play.
Yeah, Sencux, he's left the lane like 5 seconds ago. This could have been called easily. Memento could have backed away, but did not happen, and that's where Misfits show aggression.
And the coordination, there was almost zero delay between the barrel pop and Sencux executing with his last breath. And then the follow-up. There's really nothing to complain about here.
That's what we said in draft, the combination, early picking Gragas and Yasuo. Okay, Yasuo can go to 2 different lanes, potentially even 3 with top lane. Gragas can go to multiple lanes as well, so you don't fully show your draft yet, but you have a combination that works together. Force the flash from Memento, throw the ult, no matter what, he's going to die when the Yasuo is there. Great play from Misfits, timing the whole thing with the big push up top lane, having double TP ready. And ROCCAT, this is the worst kind of situation for them. We already mentioned Memento cannot fall behind.
He's falling behind.
He's behind. His team is down 2,000 gold.
And he didn't have the Lamb's Wrist, but I don't know if it would have saved his life for more than a couple of seconds. But
maybe he can get over the
make
wall.
the play. He had the experience differential. This goes back to the early play. Maxlore denying him a little bit on some of that. And this is what Misfits are able to do. They generate great gold differences in the early game, consistently up against their opponents. Taking a look at how it all breaks down, it's usually Hansama making up the massive amount of difference, but Maxlore's in there too.
Yeah, and Sama not ahead in this game, sorry. Sencux, on the other hand, just managed to get the first kill.
Yeah, it mixed things up just a little bit. So we'll see if that trend continues. It is a 2,000 gold advantage or so for Misfits Gaming. They've opened up this top lane, so Sencux has free reign to give Prophet a really bad time.
It's tough being the Mundo against the GP. It's also very tough as a jungler if you try to play around your losing lane when he's under pressure, because you can't win the fight, especially not when the enemy mid lane is there. So ROCCAT's draft has kind of put them in a spot where they didn't have a lane, as we mentioned, other than mid they could potentially look to. But they haven't been able to get anything done around Sencux, and now the lane phase is over. First turret is gone, teams are splitting up, Yasuo is top lane, and the Memento Blanc hype train, it's not really leaving the station.
No refunds on those tickets either, it would appear. But what can ROCCAT realistically do at this point? Misfits have grouped up so hard and pushed objectives so effectively. Where are you looking for the damage to start coming from ROCCAT?
Right now they need items. First of all, they have almost no AP or AD on their carries. They're all sitting on just the first couple of items that's supposed to help them through the laning phase. They didn't want this to end at 10 minutes. They wanted a long, fine, slow
You wanted
phase.
a tier stacking Ezreal, you wanted Blanc to get his Rod of Age. I mean, they definitely need time. I guess if I can rephrase my question to Deficio, where do they need to look to try and stall Misfits out?
I mean, looking at the situation now, at least they should be able to hold mid. Problem is, they just gave over Rift Herald. That could have been one of the places where if you stop them, if you move in as 5, you have TP you can threaten with from Prophet, you stop Misfits from getting a 10-minute Rift Herald at least. That kind of failed, which now means your next turret is probably not going to be able to survive the potential charge and a group of Misfits. So you're in a tough spot. You were actually hoping for a game where Mundo also got his Sunfire. You know, he doesn't have to be too afraid of the GP then. At this point here, he's scared of everything. Prophet can't really move anywhere, so they can't actually push out any of the side lanes. And they are effectively hoping Misfits slow down, but there's really no reason to do that.
They make sure that they have a lot of sight lines, Misfits does, on Team ROCCAT as well. You see the wards inside the jungle. It's also not just one-on-one. Sencux being joined by Maxlore here means that Prophet's in trouble.
Yeah, and remember, Misfits do not have to put the Rift Herald mid. They can put it bot lane against the Mundo. Like, and then you have a Yasuo plus a Rift Herald. Like, there's no way he defends that turret. So they have so many options right now. ROCCAT should know that on bottom side, the jungler just showed himself. Maxlore will put him mid though with the siege initially. Alphari's coming down as well, 5 man around. Heaq, my man, it's time to wave clear.
Let's see if he can do it. I don't know if he can clear away the Rift Herald though, so Hansama and Sencux might be backing away, but that's a lot of damage dealt on the charging Rift Herald. Misfits will not secure the tower, just barely. ROCCAT did respond well.
I think Misfits could have waited for a full wave, but we're like, you know what, this turret is going to die in the next push. If we actually commit to it, it's going to be so low, it's fine. Just get the Rift Herald down, move on with your lives, start actually getting deep vision with the wards from Maxlore that he now gets after getting rid of the Herald itself. So I like to play just for the speed and the pace of the game. No need to wait for a big wave, and there you go, that's mid lane turret gone. What's next, Pyre? Great question. Bot lane turret.
Pretty easy peasy, and now Prophet, he's still going to have a hard time trying to survive the push from Misfits if they group up, make this happen. Nowhere else to take anything on the map outside of perhaps the Cloud Drake.
Yeah, not really the way to get back in the game, sadly. Also, currently only 1 stack from Memento. There's 1 at the Raptor camp that just got killed. Sadly means for him he's not going to be able to get a lot more in the early game.
And this is the weakness of a Kindred. If you can shut down the stacking early on, it takes a lot longer to get online, which means Memento's kind of shuffled off into the same territory that Blanc and Heaq are, being down on their items.
Hopefully for ROCCAT, next time they go back, they can actually fully complete some of the first items. We got the 1 on Heaq now, so he's the strongest member on the team. If there's anywhere for him to actually make a play, it should be around him specifically. Not that he's at a spike yet, but at least right now he actually can deal some damage. You can see on the side of Blanc here, no Rod of Age is completed, should be on his back. But will take time for him to actually stack it up. So we're basically just looking at Heaq and saying, okay, if you're going to get kills, he needs to be there.
He needs to be the one executing, but he's up against, honestly, he's still a pretty terrifying team, not just because their name is Misfits. You've got the Blade of the Ruin King completed for Hansama, the Phantom Dancer, of course, long since bought. by Sencux after the first couple of kills. And even the GP's starting to stack up an items machine. The Executioner's calling. It gets better and better.
We saw that one, Pyra. The Swain did not manage to get the blue buff for himself.
No one saw that. We don't talk about that.
Sorry. Memento got it. It was all planned. He wanted it. Maxlore's bot lane, that's the turret we talked about being the only one standing. Prophet is trying his best to defend it, but he is all alone in the world right now.
Oh, this is a little bit rough, and there goes the bop into the knock-up. He goes golden on his stopwatch, but it's only going to buy a few seconds. Teleport does complete for Blanc, though, to help push away Maxlore and Sencux.
This is what I just love about Misfits. Like, this is all planned. They're like, yeah, we got push on bottom side. Let's move down, force a TP, because the reaction has to be TP and probably stopwatch. Notice how they instantly back away. They don't like stay around thinking, oh, maybe we can do more. No, they just step away. They got everything they needed back to set up the next play. It's constant, like, pace of the game just kind of being sped up way faster than most of the European teams actually want to play. There's never a moment where Misfits are just sitting back saying, yeah, let's not do anything, let's just farm. Like, it's always like apply pressure somewhere. Where's the next play? Okay, top side, Alphari has to push. He also has GP ult. Well, there's now no stopwatch on the Mundo. So next time you go for tower dive, you can actually kill him.
And this is what Misfits spent their off time between spring and summer working on. We've talked about how this team invested in additional coaching staff and decided not to change their players, but to focus on the fundamentals, to focus on the strategic element of playing a planned game. And you can see it on full display here, the fact that they've got themselves completely in the driver's seat of 15 minutes, 3,000 gold to lead, 2 towers to none, slowly squeezing the life out of ROCCAT.
Let's see. ROCCAT will get a little bit of time to at least push out some waves. That's kind of the only win for them so far. Sadly for them, Memento is not ahead in this game. Sencux looking for more bottom side.
Oh, here we go. There's the last breath. Blanc, how fast can he walk back? Demonic Ascension on. He's going to turn Sencux away. Norskeren and Memento actually coming through here. Sencux might need to watch himself. Good win wall.
Same kind of setup. Jumps in. Instantly starts stepping away, knowing he can't actually commit to the kill. ROCCAT did try and react in time, but Misfits used the time just fully resetting. Hansama went back to base. Maxlore back to base. Now Alphari did the same. Simply knowing, okay, ROCCAT is investing time going bot lane to try and kill our split pusher. They're not going to kill him, so there's nowhere else on the map to gain an advantage. Therefore, we can freely go back to base. And now look at Maxlore. Sneaking his way down.
For a big guy, he definitely looks pretty stealthy. It could be trouble if Blanc goes here without a whole lot of help.
Yeah, Maxlore and Sencux just want to keep applying pressure around the winning lane. Blanc, there's no stopwatch on his side.
He's coming down the Kindred.
They see him for now. Meanwhile, top lane, no one is defending. Prophet needs to be the one holding that, but he's mid looking for a potential fight. ROCCAT don't really have any hard engage to actually start this fight with them. It will be Braum flashing in. So now Prophet has to just go back knowing, okay, we can't actually get the fight we were hoping for.
Yeah, Misfits can just freely push away, so that's a big wave come crashing into the top tier 2. Prophet's going to have to go up and try and catch it. Misfits just continually dragging ROCCAT around, and they're keen to dive if they get a numbers advantage, but they don't actually need to make the big plays. Mikyx Hansama going on a ward clearing spree here, and it looks like they're setting up for a dive in the bottom side. Memento forced to back away, Blanc as well. This will be the 3rd tower following Deficio. ROCCAT have not managed to get anything in this game, and now the outer walls have been breached.
And it's just credit to Misfits for never giving them a chance. They're not diving crazy, stupid things. They're not committing 5 members to something they shouldn't. They force a player to step away knowing, okay, small win, stopwatch, TP something, return next time, get the objective. And that's where you get consistency. And that's where you get a team where you can actually realistically predict 18-0. Because it's not crazy plays or just being individually better. It's actually being very smart.
It's so difficult to actually achieve that 18-0. We've only had it happen with the 2015 Fnatic, and
what a time,
format
baby.
changes. What a time it was. But it was a very special time, a very special team, and a very different meta, and the talent was at a very different level. Misfits, if there is a way for them to channel that, they've already beaten almost everybody once. They do it here against ROCCAT. All they got to do is beat the same teams a second time.
It's true. If you can do it once, you can definitely do it again. No matter what happens to the meta as well, they should actually be fine. That's one of the things we talked about in Reddit check, how if more and more AD carries are going to get buffed, which is the case right now. We see the items, crit items as well.
That's a paradise for Hansama. I mean, this guy wants to pull out the Draven.
The only downside for Misfits, if that happens, is the fact that Reckless probably returns to Fnatic, and then it gets a little bit harder.
It's a weird time. It's a weird time to be watching, isn't it? When that's the point you can think of.
Once again, Maxlore and Sencux, they pick the champions together first in the draft. They walk together all game long. All they're waiting for is Maxlore to throw one big ulti. Sencux will kill someone. No IH yet. And we're also only 19 minutes in. It just feels like Misfits have been in control since 5 minutes.
Yeah, this is the most controlled Yasuo play I think I've ever seen, actually, because you want to be diving in and making the kills if you can, but he's surgically executing players. ROCCAT's not necessarily stepping up to the plate, but this ain't no solo queue.
I just feel like with ROCCAT, like, not saying the draft is bad or anything, but the moment they lose that first fight on the turret, they just have so little comeback potential. Unless it's Misfits actually opting into a play that could give a big team fight. That's obviously Baron or, you know, a big Drake or something where ROCCAT have 5 members around. They can't start the fight. They don't have engage on their team. But they can at least walk in and contest the objective, and that's where they get the 5-on-5. And that's the moment Heaq needs to shine.
Unless the fight happens before, it looks like Norskeren steps too far forward. Maxlore presses the delete key.
Yep. They see an opening, and Norskeren is dead. That's going to be another Drake for Misfits. And that's what I just talk about here. Like, ROCCAT never decides when to fight. Like, they're not forcing anything this game. They walk forward, and if they're lucky, Misfits want to take a bad fight against them. Otherwise, Misfits just kill them.
And Prophet forced to flash away as he was going to get barrel bopped back into the Misfits team, and now it's going to be tier 2. They don't even need to try and take any other objectives. Heaq fires the True Shot Barrage, melts through the minion wave. Taking a look at how this gold game has gone. Slow and steady wins the race and gets them into the base sooner or later. We're only 20 minutes into this, Deficio. It's still growing very slowly.
Sure, but we got to talk about potential perfect game happening here. 3-0 in turrets, 3-0 in kills, all the objectives for Misfits. This is the moment where Norskeren is hoping, oh, maybe we have Prophet in here, we can take the fight, but Misfits have already moved their mid laner to this lane here. And they just one-shot Norskeren, who of course is not going to be very tanky at this point in the game. Just looking at all the outer turrets for Misfits, top lane is on 95% HP, mid lane 98% HP, bot lane about 85%. So none of those turrets looking to go down in the near future, unless ROCCAT can trade sides, which is one of the ways back, but that's hard when you've lost all your outer turrets.
That seems to be the difficulty and why they've started sniffing around for maybe a quick pick, but Misfits know how to collapse, know how to step up. And these half commitments from ROCCAT are not going to get them anywhere. It seems like the magic that this team has to sometimes upset is not present in this game.
Not yet, at least.
It's always there sleeping, but like, where is it? I want it to wake up, Deficio. We waited 21.5 minutes.
It's true. And I know right now it's a very Misfits one-sided cast because they're the ones literally about the perfect game at the enemy team, and they have the full control. But another thing to highlight that's important is how whenever Misfits push down their lanes, notice how rarely they stay and just start hitting the turret. Notice how often they push down the wave to the turret, walk into the enemy jungle, kill camps, walk into the mid lane, make a 5-man play. It's always trying to group up as multiple members instead of chipping away on one turret. Because again, you speed up the game. You make it way harder for the enemy team to defend if they constantly have to fear that you're coming in from 2 different angles with 5 players, instead of you seeing them already hit a turret in the side lane. So it's a lot about us constantly setting up a bigger play and not just a small, you know, chip on a turret for 10% of the damage.
And spending all of that attention on the 4 members of Misfits means that there's always going to be one doing something else. Another push in the bot lane by Alphari. Prophet wasn't there to catch the wave. He comes in now to pick it up. But Misfits are giving themselves options on top of this superior play style.
And all ROCCAT have been trying to do is just get items. Please, hold on to your turrets. You have only lost the 3 outer ones. It's not the end of the world yet. You should get at least one team fight.
Well, and they've started to get some of those spikes that are really important. There's 9 stacks on Blanc's Rod of Ages. The Ezreal, of course, has that Trinity Force. And the Mundo has finally gotten himself the Sunfire Cape. But is it going to be enough?
Well, for now, they're at least finding Maxlore, so they know where he's going. Hint, hint, it's the Sencux lane.
Oh, I would never have been able to tell.
There you go. And they managed to step away from it. IH completed, though. That's a big spike for Sencux specifically. Heaq double tier on its way, so give him more time. He wants to get to the late game point of an Ezreal. He wants to get that last team fight around a Baron. If ROCCAT wins it, they're right back in the game. Then it doesn't matter you lost so many outer turrets and fell behind in gold. But that's kind of the problem with this kind of play, is if you then lose that fight, there is simply nothing left because you've already given up so much of the map.
No, they absolutely have to execute when it comes down to it, but the question is, when do they feel confident enough to actually take those fights? Still mismatched on the items. Even Alphari kind of starting to step up with there. The Storm Razor picked up for him to top off the Trinity Force and the Executioner's Calling.
Yep, gives him the crits on the barrels. Oh, a nice little bonus for GP. Misfits don't have to 5-man commit to Baron, which would be one of the ways for ROCCAT to get that fight we were talking about. They can just 2 to 3 man it, have the rest of the members sitting around mid lane pushing out, and then ROCCAT might not react in time. Edge Yasuo will be able to get it down fairly quickly. Misfits seem to actually do it though because they see ROCCAT on the map. They are starting at 5. Is there a way for ROCCAT to get in here and fight? It is one of the ways back in the game.
They need Memento to be the hero, but they don't have Prophet there. They don't have enough people there in time. Is it going to happen? They have to make this move, and it looks like Misfits, they're peeling off the Baron. Taking the fight there is going to be the Braum ultimate, but Norskeren gets knocked back into the cow, and Blanc is distracting on the other side. Looks like ROCCAT might even be able to turn this one around. Baron's got a reset now. Memento picks up a kill and scares Misfits off.
This is exactly why I didn't want to see Misfits go 5-man to the Baron. Simply not necessary. Start with a few members, get it low, then move in to finish it. Because right now, that was the way back for ROCCAT. They will even get a mid lane turret, they get the first kill, and they get more time to scale with the Ezreal.
So, Misfits break away from the plan and they get swiftly punished for it. ROCCAT still behind in this game, but they pick themselves up a tower, they pick themselves up a kill. No perfect game this time around.
Yeah, so the plan right here is start Baron, get them here, and then turn with Gragas or Alistar going in, and then the ulti from a Yasuo, but the only knock-up here is on Norskeren, and now Maxlore is in the back. He's actually not able to get a proper ult off, so nothing gets set up here for Sencux to do anything. GP ult was not used either. Just seemed like Misfits, the moment ROCCAT showed up, 100% sure what they wanted to do. Ended up just losing a member.
Yeah, had the Baron pretty low too, before they peeled off it and take the fight. Kudos to Blanc, though, positioning himself in the front, getting the hourglass on with his demonic ascension and just scaring away the rest of Misfits while Mikyx just goes down.
So now we can get the situation where ROCCAT will get another fight. We said they might only get one. If they lose that, it could be over. Now they actually managed to get the first kill, get a turret as well for themselves. I gotta see that second tier on Heaq. He's currently sitting at 200 only, but the fact that he's getting close to 3 items is really the win condition for ROCCAT specifically. And Pyro, you said this early in the game. You said like if there is a guy who's going to step up next to Memento, you are nominating Heaq. And so far, it might be the case. Blanc, of course, was the MVP of the last one to go with Norskeren. But Heaq is still the one we're looking at.
Well, the team definitely has playmakers aside from just carries. We talk about Norskeren. He started that fight. Now let's see if Prophet can live through this one. Barrel chain slows him down. He throws the briefcase. Not going to do enough damage. Teleport and the cannon barrage he flashes away. Is the healing factor going to be strong enough? He's trying to run, trying to go where he pleases. But Misfits say you don't please anything at all. And now Mikyx goes in, looks for Heaq. True shot barrage going to fly. Alphari low. Another teleport. This fight is continuing. Alphari, he might be low enough, but the rest of ROCCAT have regrouped here. Memento going forward, looking for Mikyx. Can they make this the 1-for-1? They can. The cow gets pulled in, and ROCCAT carved themselves off a slice of beef.
Maxlore's top lane right now. He can't join the fight. Rest of Misfits tried to help here after they saw, okay, we got the first kill, but now all of ROCCAT are moving down to the lane. Ends up being a 1-for-1 trade. Baron right now, it's fully warded. Maxlore will just get all the wards. Obviously need to be careful it doesn't get started by a couple of Misfits members. ROCCAT is on the way, though.
But Heaq in that fight helped turn things around. The rest of the team,
they might do it anyway.
Let's see, Misfits waiting in the wings, trying to stop another Baron push. Looks like nothing's going to come of it.
No, they hope to see someone on the map before they did it. Actually, they're still around the Pyra. I think they're doing it. Yeah, this is the thing. You got to be quick here.
Here we go. There's a reaction. You can see Blanc and Memento already coming up, and they've procced the Scryer's Bloom. It's all 5 members of Misfits. Mikyx trying to guard the way. The rest of ROCCAT are too slow to respond, and Mikyx gets the knock-up, running distraction, and the Baron will fall. Alphari gets the final hit. True shot barrage comes in too late. Let's see how the fight's going to go down. Norskeren just gets melted off the face of Summoner Drift. Lambs respite buying a tiny bit of time, but it's not going to be enough. There is a shutdown. Memento finds Sencux. Hansama in the back, full culling to the rest of ROCCAT. They're sandwiched between the rest of the Misfits members. Maxlore finds Memento, but it's a bloodbath as Heaq turns it around on Mikyx. And they decide to call a truce.
In the end, Misfits got the Baron here. While we had to play bot lane, they were trading. ROCCAT were slow back on the map here, and Misfits, they saw an opening. They waited for the right members to be there. They started. Mikyx is zoning them here. He knows, okay, as long as we deny Memento from getting close, he can't steal it. That now means the engage is used from Misfits early on onto Norskeren. Notice Heaq here. He's actually in a good spot, but he jumps to the side where the wind wall is placed and does pause his damage for at least a second. I think if he just stayed and tried to commit with the current flank, it's still an even trade between the teams, but ROCCAT, of course, needed more here if they want to actually get out of this winning the whole fight, but it is instead Misfits Baron.
It is indeed, and you can see the frustration on the face of Norskeren. But taking it off 2 members doesn't count for nothing, and ROCCAT, despite being behind, find a second even fight.
It's true. Misfits have not been able to cleanly just snowball the game here. We started talking about perfect game. We kind of jinxed the whole thing because right after
I blame it. And now it's a pause too, man.
Yeah.
This is all your fault.
It's definitely ruins a perfect game. It's long gone for Misfits, but if ROCCAT can stall this Baron out, then it's setting up for a very exciting late game. We've had 2 games so far today. It's actually gone to late game team fights.
We had the longest game of the split, actually.
We did, like the whole 25 minutes easy snowball. Not today, man. Not today. Longer games, more comebacks. This case here, ROCCAT has actually shown some good fights around Baron, but I'm mainly looking at Misfits. When you get that far ahead, you have so much control, you get eye edge on your Yasuo at 20 minutes, you should cleanly get the first Baron. You should cleanly snowball the game. They didn't.
Well, let's see how exactly it went down. Actually, we don't have it quite ready up just yet, and the league officials, of course, are on stage investigating the nature of the pause on the ROCCAT side. But yeah, it seems like Misfits, they lost a little bit of a trick, and let's go ahead and see how the Baron play went down.
Yeah, so once we get it again, this is where all of ROCCAT after the fight are not fully ready for this Baron to be started. You saw that recall from Norskeren just when the replay got on your screen. Like, that's what Misfits were hoping for when they saw an opening to rush it. So 3 members are not even close. That means it's Baron, but the following fight is a lot closer than I expected. I thought Misfits would get this and just instantly kill a target, but combo from Alistar is gone. Notice Heaq in the middle of your screen on the Ezreal. He's actually hitting him from the side, but it jumps over, I think because he sees Hansama go towards him. So it might have been the right choice. He was just there with Prophet. And a Lucian jumping towards an Ezreal, of course, would hurt a lot for him. So I think Heaq just wanted to join the team, ends up getting an even trade. But the Baron call was great from Misfits. Harder than expected, but they got the Baron.
Absolutely. And now it'll be curious to see what they can do with the 3 members on the Baron buff for the time being. It looks like the nature of the pause, it looks like it's been resolved, so we'll be going back into game in just a moment. A couple of ticks away. Now ROCCAT still trying to hang on in this one, stalling the game out. Gold lead's not been growing, Deficio, and we're back in the live.
And it's important to highlight, so the Baron buff is on Hansama. He's the one in the mid lane. Alphari is the one in the top lane. So they have 2 lanes buffed up, and the one bot lane missing is the Yasuo, but there is a Gragas around him to actually give the buff to the minions. So there is ways for Misfits to spread it across the entire map, trying to get down the last of the outer turrets here. Maxlore is around for a potential skirmish.
So is Memento, but that's a decent bit of wave clear. Looks like Misfits are going to think better of it and back away. But you look at the top, you look at the mid, they're still pushing in. 3-pronged attack from Misfits Gaming.
Should always be a lane where they can hit the turret. Right now it's mid because Heaq stepped towards top side to try and stop Alphari from pushing. That allowed Hansama now to get a bunch of hits on the turret. It will eventually go down, probably next wave for him. And Heaq should actually jump here. Go for it, man.
Chase for Hansama. There's the dash away. They found Mikyx. Actually, let's see if they get the kill on here. They find him and take him down in just a few seconds. No, he's going to flash. Go over the wall. Turn it around. And with the help of Alphari, Mikyx actually gets that one picked up. It looks like down to the bot, we're still fighting as the Lambster's Bite's about to wear off. Sencux finds one. Gets turned right back around on him, but it looks like Hansama coming to back up his friend Blanc is going to go golden. But that is only going to prolong the inevitable. A couple of double taps. And that's a shutdown.
Fighting everywhere though, but ROCCAT in that mid lane. I think they could have won that 2v2, but they ended up spending so much time killing Mikyx, and that then meant Hansama could actually walk away from the potential one-on-one against Heaq and just join Maxlore bot and get another win for the Misfits team. More fighting. Heaq's back though. That red buff. Keep going, man.
Still trying for it. Double Baron buff not going to be enough, but look at what's happening. Alphari in the mid, completely unopposed. He just keeps hitting and running, this guy. Not gonna find anything.
Alphari's that one guy not joining the fun. He's just like, I'm just playing my own game, you know. I'm just gonna keep taking all your turrets down. So we get a fight mid lane, we get another 2v2 bottom side. Junglers and mid laners against each other. Everything goes in early. Sencux ends up getting an early combo, I assume, once we get the knockback here. Yep, and then it ulti from Memento just in time to keep him alive. But now, what actually decides this fight is the fact that Hansama had moved down to the bottom side after the trade mid, and he joins and trades suddenly, and ends up winning the whole thing for Misfits. Meanwhile, Heaq, full HP, red buff, wanted to carry so badly, but only Mikyx was close enough for him to actually kill.
And Mikyx playing the hero, actually, as soon as he looked like he was just out of harm's way, he actually goes back over the wall with a headbutt pulve combo and helps secure the kill on the opposite side.
But man, you could see it right there. That could have been a hero moment for Heaq.
Could have been.
Win the 2v2 in the mid lane, go down bot lane, kill Maxlore as well. Man, your entire team just stopped the Baron. Might get more fighting.
I think we might have a few more hero moments. Hansama
Nice
gonna
one.
get caught up on the Glacial Fissure, and Heaq this time puts him down 6 feet under, and now it's going to be an Infernal Drake.
He gets a kill, but man, all credit to Norskeren right there. Pyra in the pick and ban phase. You said he used to be a Braum one trick in the spring split. Well, he just showed us why. This Braum play here was fantastic. Gets the knock up onto Hansama. And that's a big, big kill for ROCCAT. Man, this game is so wide open.
Oh, it is, and it looks like it's about to be even further. ROCCAT now taking down tier 2 in the mid. They're not stopping anytime soon. They don't need no Baron buff to make this happen. And Misfits still scrambling. 20 seconds on Hansam to come back up the wind wall. Going to take a few seconds. That's a great barrel chain to knock down the wave. And now ROCCAT in full retreat.
Remember that Storm Racer here on the GP. The first initial hit is a huge one. Big plays from Alphari. He's the unsung hero that Vedius talked about before the game started.
I think Vedius sung quite a lot about him.
He did. Honest. He showed all the great stats. Those are the tank stats. Alphari this game has done extremely well in his lane. It was around topside they got the early leads. And while we had a lot of fighting around Maxlore and Heaq, he's just been pushing. And now he's showing up.
And he's neutralizing the Mundo, too. Normally when a team picks this Mundo, we've seen what Alphari especially has been able to do with this champion. Just sit behind enemy lines and turn your W on and kill people very slowly. It's not happening because Prophet has been starved for gold. He does have his Warmogs now. He has, he's working his way up to a couple more items with the Giant's Belt, but he hasn't been able to have the same effectiveness, and Alphari's really playing against him here. That mortal reminder to cut down the healing factor as well.
Yeah, and if you can just ignore the Mundo because you have multiple champions that can reach the back line, well, you
I don't think they're ignoring him here. I think they want to kill him
for him.
Oh, okay, he's out.
Small one, but like, you got GP barrels and GP ult, you have Yasuo ulti, like, you have multiple champs who will reach Heaq and the back line of ROCCAT here, so they don't need to kill the Mundo first. It is not necessary for them to win the fight. They actually need to kill this level 16 Ezreal, and of course the Swain, who's also just kind of been sitting and trying to catch farm in all the different waves. He does have Hourglass. He's going to be hard to kill for them. It's very much a shotgun comp from Misfits. Quickly, bam, that's what you're looking for. If they don't get the initial kill, it's all about Hansama.
Yeah. Crucially, taking out Sencux is going to be a big deal for this team, but ROCCAT needs to be able to watch their towers. Another one falls. Misfits, that's number 6 for them this game.
And that's why I think GA from Sencux, if that comes in as the 4th item, that might be the biggest one for Misfits. Because if he can actually jump in and not be scared of instantly getting bursted down, certainly he can play a lot more aggressive in that back line. Meanwhile, this second tier is almost fully stacked from Heaq. He has managed to hold on. There we go.
Hits.
It is actually full stack now. Great prediction.
Well done, Deficio.
I still can't believe, like, 15 minutes ago, we were like, yeah, 3-0 for Misfits.
This is ROCCAT.
All
this is what these guys do.
They're going to get everything. Like, there was no damage on the side of ROCCAT at all. But they managed to stall it around these different Baron fights, and then actually the skirmishes right after.
Speaking of Baron, it's popped back up on the Rift. ROCCAT, they are the ones who have the wards around the pit this time around. They have the control now. Sencux and Maxlore sneaking around the backside, but this is much more even than it was the last time around.
It's true, and 5k of the goal lead from Misfits is just on Alphari over Prophet. It's not over someone like Heaq specifically for the fight. ROCCAT is starting it.
Teleport coming in for Alphari. This is risky. They peel away from the Baron. Don't want to force the fight just yet. Teleport's going to get cancelled at the last second.
So successful call here. Start Baron, CTPs, step away. They're now on long cooldowns. Mikyx used his, I believe. Alphari actually fully charged it.
Hold on, Maxlore. They're going to try to get this one. Mikyx going to get one knockback, but do they have enough damage to follow through? It looked like that caught everyone by surprise. The barrel's going to come out. Sencux going to try to get the massive kill. The Lambster Spite keeping everyone alive for a few more seconds, but Sencux will take down Blanc, and it is Misfits cleaning house. Only Heaq's going to live, and that's not enough.
So much hype around ROCCAT potentially getting back in the game, and then Misfits need one huge team fight. It was a slow start. We were waiting for Sencux, and he managed to Q flash forward, sets up his own ulti, forces Memento to use his, and then Misfits have enough time to regroup and just kill everyone once the Kindred is gone. What a huge team fight, and Sencux, that was great.
And they're still marching here. We've got 15 seconds at least before anyone comes back up. Are Misfits looking to end this game here? I think so.
I mean, why not? Look at the death timers here. It's only Heaq you're trying to defend. You got all 5 on Misfits.
Not going to be enough of a hero this time around. Mikyx nearly eats it, but it's not going to be the case that he goes down, and it won't be the case that Misfits will take a loss here. 9-0 at the halfway point of the split. GG, Misfits.
Perfect start to the split for Misfits. Great first 20 minutes in this game. Struggling in the mid game around 20 to 30 minutes. But then once we go late game, They got one big team fight. We need to rewatch that team fight because there was some big plays on the side of Misfits.
We absolutely do, and Misfits do what we expect of them. Wasn't the fastest, wasn't the cleanest in the mid game, as you pointed out,
but looked like it, right?
They just had to close it out with one fight.
But that's the thing we've seen a few times now. The last few games of Misfits, it's not just been 20-minute wins, which it was at the start of the split, where they just ran over teams instantly. There are some places where teams can get back against them, but then they've shown late game fights. And that was something they didn't always get to show us last split. They actually lost so many games once they fell behind in the mid game. Not happening in this one here. Big late game team fight. And of course a big change for them is the fact that Sencux is playing very well, but also Alphari on the GP. Feels like almost impossible to stop him from doing something in these games.
And then they had one small change to their winning formula. They put Alphari on a carry, and he does the most damage on his team with those Stormrazor barrel procs. Impressive stuff. Let's go ahead and check out that last fight of the game, though, brought to you by Acer Predator.
Yeah, so let's see it again. With the initial engage coming in, Mikyx starts the whole thing with Maxlore. Look at Sencux at the Baron, waiting and waiting. Heaq is not dealing any damage. He's shooting into a wind wall, and then the Q flash engage. All of Misfits then pile onto it, and now all of the members from ROCCAT are sadly for them too low. Some of the tanky members still healthy on that side, but Heaq, the guy we talked about, the guy who got 4 items, stacked 2 tiers, waited 30 minutes for a big late game team fight, ended up spending almost all of it shooting into a wind wall, and then he got knocked up and he basically got CC'd down.
And this is Sencux playing especially well alongside his team. He dives into the Lamb's Respite and he almost gets chunked out right before it procs. And you could see that health bar just going like, oh, down to almost 0, no, back up, down, back up. That had to be the most frustrating thing for ROCCAT, to just try and find that one kill that could have flipped the fight. Didn't happen.
And that's the sad story for a team that actually came back in a game they should not have done anything in.
That's the story of ROCCAT almost every time.
Yeah, I mean,
you write them off, doesn't matter.
It's one of those losses that could have been one of those where we got stumped, who cares, we lost in 25 minutes, but actually ended up being one of the really annoying ones where you were back in the game. You were feeling it, man. You were punishing Misfits around the map. You had your carries getting fed. Like, everything was ready for ROCCAT to take the next fight. But sadly for them, Misfits still had a great late game comp and simply outplayed them in it.
Yeah, ROCCAT will have to go back to the drawing board for their next one. But now, for this, we've narrowed it down to Alphari, Maxlore, and Sencux for your player of the game vote. So hit us up with your favorite LOL eSports on Twitter. It was a team effort for Misfits, as it always is. I'm very impressed with them.
Definitely true.
Yeah. Now, after the break, Misfits Gaming coach Moose will join us at the analyst desk as we look ahead towards our next game between Fnatic and the Unicorns of Love. You're not going to want to miss that one, so don't go anywhere. There we go. He's going to throw it on Wolf's Frenzy. Maxlore comes in. Sencux spying the kill. It's going to get the knock-up. That's first blood on the last breath, and it was the last breath for Memento.
Gets the knock-up, running distraction, and the Baron will fall. Alphari gets the final hit. True shot barrage comes in too late. Let's see how the fight's going to go down. Norskeren just gets melted off the face.
Kill Maxlore as well. Man, your entire team to stop the Baron. Might get more fighting.
I think we might have a few more hero moments. Hansama going to get caught up on the Glacial Fissure, and Heaq this time. Prize, the barrel's going to come out. Sencux going to try to get the massive kill. The Lamb's Respite keeping everyone alive for a few more seconds, but Sencux will take down Blanc, and it is Misfits cleaning house. Then he goes down, and it won't be the case that Misfits will take a loss here. 9-0 at the halfway point of the split. GG, Misfits.